There was one thing that she really loved to do, and that was to wrestle, which would have been all right if everybody else wanted to wrestle too. But this woman, who was extremely strong, who lived in the village that was there by the side of the sea, she would find anybody and pick them up, twirl them round above their heads and throw them down upon the ground, whether they wanted to or not. Now, she thought it was fantastic. She thought it was a great thing. But those people, as they would rub at their backs and pull at their shoulders, they were not pleased to have been wrestled down to the ground when they hadn't wanted to. Now, this woman that lived in this village, and everyone was sick and tired of being thrown to the ground with their arms up behind their backs and twisted round and thrown around. And I'll tell you this, she came to the side of a football pitch, and all of the children were playing football. They were playing quite happily. They were kicking the ball this way and that, but this woman had a wicked smile on her face, because she decided that she would take the goalkeeper, pick him up just as he was about to catch the ball, spin him round and throw him down to the ground. Ow! I didn't want you to do that! And then she got the captain of the team. She picked him up and pulled his arm behind his back, and he didn't want that either. And now everyone was sick and tired of what she was doing. Now, standing by the edge of the field, there was a man who always loved to make things. He would be taking nuts and bolts and wires and magnets, and he would twist them around and make fantastic things that no one could believe he'd made just from old pieces of junk and pieces of wire. He was a very clever man, but he looked and he thought, that woman needs to have somewhere where she can take her energy and make good use of it. Now, he didn't know what he was going to do, but that night everyone went into the houses. Now, it was starting to get dark, and they were inside of the houses, and just as it was starting to get dark, all of the lights went out, because the electricity had gone. The electricity wasn't being generated. The electricity wasn't being carried through the wires or through the pylons and into people's houses. There was no electricity, and everyone was sitting in the dark with candles for lights. And it was then that the man had an idea. In his back garden, he had an old bicycle that someone had left in the back lane. He'd taken some magnets. He put some magnets at the back attached to the wheels, and when they went round and round and attached to the side of the back of the bicycle, they would make electricity. He went straight over to the woman's house, the wrestling woman's house, and he knocked on her door and said, "You come here." Nobody had really spoken to her like that for a long time, but she went along with him, and he said, "You sit down there." And he sat her on the bicycle. Now, she was always full of energy. That's how she could pick people up and wrestle them around. And she started to pedal on her bike, and the wheel went round and the magnets moved, and they made electricity. Didn't make a lot of electricity, but just enough to light the lights inside of that small town. So everybody would pretend that the electricity had gone off, just so that she could go, and she would sit on the bike and pedal. If she tried to wrestle anybody to the ground, they would all light candles with flames at the top. And I've got to tell you, she would like to jump on top of the bicycle and pedal the wheels around and make the magnets move and make the electricity flow through the wires that lit all of the houses in the town. The man would smile, because when the children were playing football and shouting and laughing and screaming, she would be standing there, and her eyes would be heavy, because she'd spent so much time making electricity for everyone inside of the town that she would stand by the side of the football match, and her eyes would get heavier and heavier, and she would fall fast asleep. and the children could play their football as long as they ignored the way that she snored.